Watch me. If you watch me. Watch me. Watch me. If you watch me.
5:13, it's the Kevin Kollins Show on 1340 WJOL, 5:10-ish every afternoon. Talk about the big stories, the fun stories, what you need to know. Get you up to speed a little bit on the news out there. Evan, what do you got for us?
You should be alarmed. We should be an open rebellion saying enough's enough. We're not going to take it anymore.
That's Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul, who's continuing his filibuster on the floor of the U.S. Senate about NSA surveillance. The Kentuckian said that people should be alarmed. Senator Paul is adamantly opposed to the NSA's mass collection of Americans' phone data. Key parts of the USA Patriot Act, including phone surveillance, are set to expire soon. Senate leaders want to extend it as is. The House has passed a bill which effectively ends the bulk collection of phone records. The Patriot Act is the sweeping counterterrorism law that was approved after 9/11. At one point, Oregon Democrat Rob Wyden joined Paul's discussion, and other critics of the NSA's bulk collection are expected to do the same.
Okay. Is there any other reason to do a filibuster like this other than to get attention? I mean, I just simply don't see what it's going to accomplish other than mucking up the system. Listen, I get he's passionate about it. I get he wants to do something. But filibustering to me, I just don't understand what it accomplishes other than getting your name in the headlines.
Well, one, he's protested this before. He's filibustered this attempt. The House has passed a different version of this legislation, and I think he wants to call attention to the American public to say, hey, we have a version that ends bulk collection and will still protect us as a nation. Why is the Senate unwilling to look at this legislation and vote on it? That's the question he's asking. I have no problem. He's passionate in his beliefs. I happen to agree with him. So I like that there's someone in our nation's capital who's speaking out against this issue.
But I just don't understand what a filibuster ever accomplishes, though. Other than just bring press to it and bring that this is what he stands for, and I guess that's where it's at. What else we got on what you need to know?
I don't believe that the authorities are going to shoot down a 60-year-old mailman in a flying bicycle. I'm going to give them plenty of warning, well over an hour in advance of me getting to the no-fly zone, so that they know who I am and what I'm doing, and that it's intended to be nonviolent.
The Florida postal carrier who flew a gyrocopter on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol faces up to 9.5 years in prison. Charges listed in the indictment against Douglas Hughes, 61, of Ruskin, Florida, who you heard just there, include violation of registration requirements for aircraft, violation of national defense airspace, and operating a fake postal vehicle. The U.S. Postal Service logo was on the gyrocopter Hughes flew, and that apparently prompted the last charge. The gyrocopter contained a sack of 535 letters regarding the Supreme Court's 2010 decision in Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. Each letter was addressed to a member of Congress. Those letters were never delivered. In that audio that we played, Kevin, that was from a video that he actually did with the Tampa Bay Times. He actually gave them an interview a week before he made his flight into Washington, D.C.'s restricted airspace in order to let people know what he was doing and why he was doing it.
And the Times, they claim they forwarded that interview up to Washington, D.C. officials and said, listen, this Yahoo's going to fly in there, and nothing was done. Who would have thought, and I didn't know this, it makes sense, I guess, but it's illegal to have it impersonated, to mark your car up like a United States Postal Service vehicle, and he's got charged on that. I love that charge. That's my favorite one.
President Obama says global climate change is a threat to national security.
The best scientists in the world know that climate change is happening. Our analysts in the intelligence community know climate change is happening. Our Homeland Security professionals know it is happening, and our Coast Guard knows it's happening.
Giving the commencement address at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, the president warned that no nation is immune from the impacts of climate change. He argued extreme weather events like drought and flooding can prompt famine, instability, and conflict. The president said climate change will have an impact on how the U.S. military is deployed. The president mocked Republicans who often say they are not scientists. The president called the science indisputable. He insisted that the world must start reducing carbon emissions now.
Listen, we still know, in fact, we know people all the time. I talk to people all the time that still say that the whole global warming is not true. And I just, like I always said, when it comes to medical stuff, I'm going to go with what the experts say on this and that it's true. Now, what is going to be the long-term effect? You know, I'm going to lean towards science on that, but I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, you really can't predict what the long-term effect is going to be. If we were able to predict that, we would have been able to predict this 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't do something about it because it is proven that this is what is causing it. But I love how people say, yeah, what do they know? I mean, that's what they're trained to do. And I guess what is in it for these scientists to say that it's, I mean, what is the benefit for them to have their report go in favor or against it? They're just going to look at the evidence and say, this is what the evidence shows. So I can't quite grasp why people think that scientists don't know what's going on.
I always go back to the over 10,000 peer-reviewed journals that were written in 2014 discussing global climate change. 2 said it wasn't happening. 2 out of 10,000 journals written by scientists said climate change is not happening. The other 9,998 said it is happening to some degree, and that we are responsible for it to some degree. So let's have the conversation.
Have you been outside today? So much for global warming. I always love that one, too.
That drives me crazy.
They think it literally means,
Yeah, they think it literally means warmth. It doesn't. It means extremes in weather.
And this is pretty crazy today.
Hail and sleet in May.
It snowed yesterday in Brookings, South Dakota. And Brookings, South Dakota isn't that far north of us. It snowed yesterday there. So, yeah, it's crazy weather. What else we got?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just have to keep going here. From the home office in Sioux City, Iowa.
Another chapter in late-night television history is coming to an end tonight. David Letterman will wrap up his time as the host of CBS's Late Show after 22 seasons. He started making his mark on the late-night scene back in 1982 when he launched NBC's Late Night. He moved to CBS to start The Late Show after he was passed over for The Tonight Show hosting job, resulting in a heated rivalry between him and former Tonight Show host Jay Leno. As for who will help Letterman close out his run tonight, the show is keeping the final guest list a secret, although we do know the Foo Fighters are the closing musical act. Stephen Colbert will take over The Late Show on September 8th.
Evan, can you share with the audience why the home office was Sioux City, Iowa, my birthplace and where I grew up?
Well, many people don't realize when David Letterman took over Late Night on CBS, there was no late night television show on CBS. So it was network news and it was reruns that the affiliates chose. And what happened was when David Letterman was announced as the host, there was a large number of affiliates that said, we will simply not air the David Letterman program. It's going to cut into our revenue from our advertisement that we sell during our newscast. It's going to cut into our advertising revenue that we air during these reruns. And David Letterman went on this nationwide tour, meeting every affiliate head who refused to air his show. And after the show came out to much acclaim and ended up beating The Tonight Show for the first couple of years, everyone picked the show up except one station, and it was Sioux City, Iowa, CBS's affiliate, who would not air The Late Show. They eventually did air The Late Show much later than everyone else, and then they eventually aired it at its correct time, 11:35 Eastern, 10:35 Central. What was the program that they would not preempt for David Letterman?
You know what? I honestly can't remember. KMEG is KMEG. KMEG is the affiliate there. Still there today. Still doing fairly well. The interesting thing about KMEG at that time is that was the CBS affiliate. However, they had no local news. They just added local news about 10 years ago. No evening news, no afternoon news, no morning news. They had no news at all.
It was one of two. The other station was Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh, boy. And it was I think it was the home office for like almost a year.
It was in 1994 when the first time KMEG, or KMEG, as you said, ended up airing the late night program with David Letterman.
So there you go. Yeah, tonight I'm going to watch. I haven't watched Letterman for a long time, but I will be watching tonight. That's what you need to know on 1340 WJOL.